All Sports One Web. It is Thursday, January 25th. We are days away from the NFC AFC championship games. Today's episode, we're going to break down each game and give you our picks. I got Jacob here with me to settle me down and stop diving through all the stats and just picking based on my deep dive through the night on who I think is going to win. We went 2-2 last week. Jacob's going to help even me out here. How did you enjoy the last round of the playoffs? Those exciting games, Chiefs, Bills, Packers, almost the upset.
So
absolutely
good.
Fantastic.
A lot of them were, pretty much all of them were close for most of the game. The Ravens, Texans obviously got out of hand towards the end, but Texans put up a good fight in the first half. Some amazing games. The 49ers game coming down to the wire was crazy. It set up for a great championship Sunday.
Yep. And absolutely fantastic last week. A better slate of games even on top of that this week. Thanks for joining us here at the webcast. And let's go ahead and dive straight in to the games. Detroit traveling to the Bay to take on San Francisco. Kansas City in their sixth consecutive AFC championship game. But this time they have to head on the road for the first time and take on the number one seed Baltimore Ravens. And Jacob, you and I had a conversation before the playoffs even started. Who were we going to take all the way through? And what did we say? We said, you got to go San Francisco and Baltimore. I proceeded to pick against Baltimore every single week, but here we have them in the AFC Championship game. I did pick San Francisco last week to get the job done against Green Bay. Brock Purdy didn't look that great last week. That defense goes 44 consecutive games without giving up a 100-yard rusher. That streak falls as well. But at the end of the day, Brock Purdy gets the only last drive winning touchdown of the playoffs of any quarterback in this year's playoffs. And so is that something that Brock Purdy can ride into this game as Detroit come to San Francisco?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, Brock Purdy did what he needed to do. He didn't have a great game. I don't think anyone thinks he had a great game. The Packers played very well. Aaron Jones, I think people forgot how good he actually is.
We've been wanting to be healthy the whole year. That's all we've been wanting, is for him to just be healthy.
But this Niners team is so good around Brock that he honestly doesn't need to do too much. He might need to do a little bit more in this championship game than he did last week. But if he can just not turn the ball over like he did against the Packers, I see nothing but a Niners win here. Lions also 0 turnovers in the playoffs this year. 2 playoff wins only by a combined margin of 9 points. They like to keep it close. They've had close games all year. Their running game has been solid. Jahmyr Gibbs really came online towards the second half of the season. He's had a great rookie year. That'll be scary for the Niners defense. McCaffrey needs to be more of a focal point. I think Brock Purdy threw the ball a little too much in that Packers game. No doubt Shanahan will have noticed that. When Brock has a bad game, he tends to have a bounce back game, and I think that's mostly because of Shanahan. He knows how to deal with his quarterbacks, and he knows how to help them bounce back.
Yeah, I expect, especially when you look at the Detroit secondary, Deebo Samuel limited in practice today. Hopefully he's going to be fully ready to go by Sunday. But the Detroit Lions, we said it last week, we knew Baker Mayfield was going to go off. 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, I think maybe been a little higher than most people expected. Mike Evans, 8 for 147, 8 receptions, 147 yards for him. And it looked like he was open the entire game. They just didn't choose to take that one-on-one matchup as much as they probably could have. He could have probably hit 200 easy in that game. But that secondary is nothing to write home about. They have to go on the road. This is the first time the Detroit Lions have put together back-to-back wins against teams with winning records. And that was the first 2 games of these playoffs. A combined margin, like you mentioned, of 9 points victory in both of those games, I think is too close when you're going to take on a Kyle Shanahan offense. Christian McCaffrey, I expect a big game in the pass game for him. George Kittle up the middle as well. I think Deebo Samuel being there, I think, just ends this altogether. If he doesn't play, obviously you get that creativity and
Yeah, he's
that
such a
big
dynamic
play
player.
ability taken away,
Yeah.
and maybe Detroit can stay in this a little bit longer. But I don't think they'll be in it for very long, and especially if Deebo Samuel plays. I'm with you. I got San Francisco in this
Also,
one.
I think people are also misremembering how much it was pouring down in Santa Clara last weekend. That's horrible conditions for a quarterback, a young quarterback in the playoffs to play in. Jordan Love had 2 interceptions in that game. Brock Purdy had 0. Brock still pulled it off when it
He
mattered.
tried.
It's gonna be it's gonna be a lot better weather this weekend. I expect Brock doesn't play so good in the rain, but he's been super solid his entire career. He's had 0 playoff losses in games that he's finished. It's his back-to-back NFC championship game to start his career. People are doubting Brock, but I think he pulls it off this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at people have been doubting Brock, and all of his teammates have come to his rescue. People have been doubting Dak. Nobody comes to his rescue. You got CD Lamb's mom tweeting out how Dak needs to go. You got Dak's brother saying, "I wish he could go." I mean, the whole thing is a disaster. Jared Goff got a little bit of support as well when he
The
was being
Cowboys
attacked.
still taking strays.
Honestly. And I think this doesn't get talked about enough. Playoff time is always a weird thing in the NFL because you're looking at the best offensive and defensive coordinators as potential hires for these coaching openings that come open immediately after the season ends because a team did so poorly they didn't make the playoffs. Well, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinators that are being looked at for these positions are all in the playoffs. That's why they're being looked at, because they did a good job. You had Dan Quinn for Dallas being talked about. He's going to get a head coaching job. He's going to get a head coaching job. That's all you talked about before that Green Bay Dallas game. And that defense just did not show up ready for that game. Going into this game, all you hear about Ben Johnson. He's going to be the new Washington Commanders head coach. He's going to be the new Washington Commanders head coach, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Washington is even sending a brigade of people to Detroit Monday morning, the day after this game is played in San Francisco, to talk to Ben Johnson. And you're telling me that he spent this entire time preparing for San Francisco? I just don't think it's possible. I don't think they'll have enough regardless, even if he was committed. But on top of that, I think it just adds too much for Detroit to overcome. I got San Francisco, and I think they will be comfortable in this one. And we talk about the bye being maybe dangerous because Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, they haven't played in 3 weeks. We said the same thing for Lamar Jackson, and boy, did he prove us wrong. 4 touchdowns accounted for, which is more than the amount of touchdowns he scored in the first 4 playoff games. Absolutely amazing second half for the Baltimore Ravens. 24 unanswered against that Houston Texans defense that really came on strong, especially that second half of the season when they fully got healthy. What do you expect from that defense and from Lamar Jackson when they host the 6-time AFC championship game representative? I mean, in the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm super excited for the NFC championship game. Don't get me wrong, but this AFC championship game, oh my God, this is going to be an amazing game. It might be the best game of the year. You got Lamar Jackson up and coming, wants to get his first Super Bowl appearance, probably about to win his second MVP. And you've got the new GOAT in Patrick Mahomes trying to get another ring already. It's crazy that he is going to have a chance at his 3rd ring this early on in his career. He's only 28 still. So many storylines here. Lamar Jackson went absolutely off. 2 touchdowns thrown, 2 touchdowns running, over 100 yards in both categories. It's going to be an amazing game. Mark Andrews coming back is a huge deal for this Ravens team. Isaiah Likely has filled in nicely, but he's no Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has been Lamar Jackson's favorite target throughout his entire career, and he's been his just safety net anytime he needs third and long. He's got Mark Andrews running down the middle of the field, and he knows he's going to be there. It's huge for him, but you got Patrick Mahomes on the other side. You just can't count him out. Everyone counted both. Honestly, people counted both these teams out for the longest time all season. The Ravens kept winning and they still got counted out. The Chiefs kept losing, and then they rightfully, in my opinion, got counted out, but maybe not rightfully. You got Patrick Mahomes. You have a chance. We'll see what he can do. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the playoffs this year. We got Pacheco dealing with that ankle and toe injury. That's going to be tough for the Chiefs to open up that run game to set up the play action. Mahomes' offensive line is playing awesome. He hasn't been sacked yet this playoffs. Like I said, I could see this game going any which way. It's going to be an amazing game. I think we need to stop doubting the Ravens when they've just shown us time after time that they are the best team in the league. Maybe we should just believe them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking to somebody who picked against both of these teams last week. I mean, I had the Chiefs going down to Buffalo. Everything told me that they were going to go and lose that game, despite my heart saying somehow they're going to pull it off. And that's exactly what they did. They lost the time of possession by 15 minutes. They lost the total yards. They lost the rushing yards. They lost the turnover battle. I mean, everything, they're on the road. Everything is pointing towards how Buffalo didn't lose that game, or didn't for Buffalo to win that game. And yet here we are, Kansas City wins once again. I mean, they're all they do.
One category. They didn't have Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. And that's honestly what it is. I mean, and, you know, did Josh Allen have a chance at the end of the game to score a touchdown? You know, he had Shakir back there. You know, maybe he can hit them and go up with 1:40 left.
And that game was set up so perfectly to have that overtime rematch. Just a coin flip rematch. Who's going to win the coin flip to win the game? We lost out on that. I'm mad at Bass for missing that kick because I was so ready to watch that coin flip.
God,
could you imagine if the Chiefs won in overtime again on the first
coin flip? Well, that would have been great. And to be honest with you, it probably would have happened because that Buffalo defense just couldn't stop them. And you know what they're saying these last 2 weeks? Well, you played Miami. They had a broken defense. Oh, you injuries on defense. Oh, you played Buffalo. They were missing half their defense. Baltimore is not missing anyone on defense. But it's still Patrick Mahomes. It's still Kansas City. And so you can never really count them out. And for me, I think this game is going to be who can turn field goals into touchdowns. I don't think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Last time these two teams played back in 2021, 31-24, Lamar Jackson at home got the better of Patrick Mahomes. But the defenses on both teams have improved drastically since that point. And so I really am expecting a tighter game in this one, especially with all the stakes that are on the line this time around. 2021 is just a regular season game. So Baltimore's defense only allowing a touchdown. The red zone defense only allowing a touchdown 40% of those drives. Kansas City, 51%. So both are in the top 10 of the NFL. So in my opinion, it's who can just convert those field goals into touchdowns. I'm expecting maybe a 17-14 type of game, and really field goals and touchdowns are really going to be the difference. And so I'm going to roll with the Ravens at home in this one. Like you mentioned, the Ravens have shown us this year that they do beat good teams at home. Plus 141 point differential against these great teams this year, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think they were plus 200 overall. They played a lot of playoff caliber teams throughout the year. They destroyed Detroit at home, that we all remember, after Detroit went on a 4-game win streak. They get Humphreys hopefully back. They'll get Andrews hopefully back. And hopefully that will just propel them to be able to get over the edge. So I do like Baltimore. I do like San Francisco to both be the home team and get the job done at home.
It's crazy that we're talking about the most obvious picks to start the playoffs to just go. Like, okay, yeah, you are the best. Sorry, we tried to find a loophole, try to get the Bills in there in the Super Bowl match. Sorry, Josh Allen, you're not him.
Matchups are so important, I think, when you talk about playoff games and experience. And you said even before we started tonight, take the starting quarterbacks for these three teams, take their combined playoff wins. It doesn't even match to what Patrick Mahomes has. And that obviously goes a long way. We've seen what Kansas City continuously does in the playoffs. Despite everything going against them, they find ways to win football games. Baltimore Ravens have proven themselves over the course of the year that they could beat good teams. Lamar Jackson, the biggest question is now off of his back. I think that stadium is relieved now. They got a good playoff win against a good team with a good performance from Lamar Jackson. They cannot worry about that anymore. They can just focus on playing football. They aren't off a bye. They played last week. They're healthy. They're getting more healthy. I think everything is going right for the Ravens. And I think San Francisco is just too stacked for Detroit at this time. I mean, you can't just make your first NFC championship game in over 30 years and just expect to win it against a team that's been there 4 out of the last 5, 3 out of the last 5. I mean, it just doesn't work like that. So give me San Francisco, give me Baltimore, and give me a rematch of Super Bowl 2012, San Francisco and Baltimore. Any discrepancies there? Any concerns?
No, I love it.
You've only been saying this every single week, so it took me 3 weeks to catch on. But anyway, enjoy the games this weekend. Crazy basketball games as well. Coaches being fired in all sports across the board. Absolutely been fantastic sports news week, if anything. Jim Harbaugh, welcome back to the NFL as well. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.